I felt a new energy today, and I'm here today to hopefully transfer that energy onto you. The world needs a lot more leaders. Yes, I can get you results. There is no doubt in my mind whatsoever that I can get you results. If you're feeling down or you're tired, you have to shift yourself into a peak state. You have to show up to your calls with conviction. When you know who you are and you know what you are, people will sense that. Hi, I'm Ryan Blair, New York Times bestselling author and serial entrepreneur. I've had $2 billion in sales and $1 billion in exits. And today I'm going to share with you some information that's going to help you become more successful as an entrepreneur. I hope you enjoy. 2024 is going to be an incredible year for AlterCall and for every one of our clients. We have come to a lot of conclusions by way of the work that we did in 2023. And I was recently, over the holiday, I went to our property in northern Arizona, Moon Mountain, and I was doing a lot of deep work, prayer, meditation, sweat lodge, and some other spiritual activities. I was also doing a lot of studying. And one of the things I was listening to on my drive up was a podcast with Lex Friedman and Jeff Bezos, great technologist. He brings on luminaries in a variety of different industries. He brought on Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, or the former CEO of Amazon, and now the CEO of Blue Origin. And Jeff was sharing that at Amazon, they were maniacally focused on customer experience. Their mission at Amazon was to be the most customer-centric company of any company. And he further went on to say that his new company, Blue Origin, the space company, is going to be focused on making the best decisions. He said that Blue Origin is going to be a decision company, meaning that they're going to make the best decisions. And I got to thinking, what is AlterCall going to focus on? And it came to me that we need to focus on relationships, and that we are going to be a relationship company. And hopefully that's music to your ears, because we want to go deeper into our relationship with you. We want to increase our service. We want to be able to provide you more value and help you get more results by way of being more active in our relationship with you, being more responsive in our relationships with you, by innovating and developing new tools and technology, and a variety of other initiatives. Because if you're not growing, we're not growing. Our mission is for you to grow and build your business, and for you to extend your work with AlterCall, and one day come back and mentor with us and actually serve alongside of us, and mentor at our events, mentor at Moon Mountain, and mentor on our new AI-powered platform. And we really want you to do so well in business that you have free time on your hands, and that you're reaching out to us saying, hey, how can I serve? How can I give back to the community? And so we have an agenda in helping you grow. And that is that we're gonna help you grow, we're gonna help you get results, and then we just pray that you'll wanna help us grow in return. And then together we'll create an ecosystem where we're able to grow together, do business together in different ways, invest in each other, share wisdom and information, and collaborate, and affect change together at scale. AlterCall has gotten very clear in the past couple of weeks as a result of our work with David and Goliath. We believe mentorship is the greatest catalyst for cultural transformation. And our AI platform that we're building exists to accelerate the transformative power of mentorship with the precision of AI. And I share that with you because I want you to understand how focused we are and how intentional we are stepping into the new year. And maybe you can take some action or some references based on what we're thinking and how we're thinking to apply to your business. It is my objective to model effective leadership, effective communication, and be the best mentor that I can be. And for you to be able to adapt best practices. You know, you could take some and you can leave some. You don't have to take them all. I don't have it all figured out by any means. But there's some things that, you know, that you might be able to sharpen your axe a bit with. And there's other things you might say, that's not for me. And it's my objective that you take those things and you take them into your business and your community and your family, and you implement them, and you receive results just as we have at AlterCall. And that AlterCall is a model for you to observe, inspect, learn from, and take the best practices of and implement in your business. There is a whole new energy every time you have a new year, because people feel different. The energy of everyone is shifting right now. And this is the greatest opportunity that you have to reach out to new customers, new investors, engage existing investors, engage existing customers, and then to reassess your team, to reassess your strategy, and to implement new policy, new priorities, new process, because people want it right now. They're ready for it right now. We all, if we did our jobs, we got our mind clear and we took time off over the holidays and we restored. And now I think if you're like me, you want to take action. Today I felt highly efficient, highly clear in my communication. I felt a new energy today, and I'm here today to hopefully transfer that energy onto you so that you can have the wind at your back as you kick off 2024. Now, I'm not going to go a lot into me today, but one of my objectives in my teaching strategy this year is to share more of my mentors with you, to share more reverence for those people that I've learned from, whether it be by way of books or podcasts or the mentors that have poured into me throughout the years, or the spiritual heroes that I study and read frequently. So I want to share with you more. In fact, that's my mantra for 2024. If I was running for president, it would be Ryan Blair, more in 24. What I'm specifically thinking about is more health, more energy, more exercise, more study, more faith, more connection, more collaboration, more clarity, and more prosperity. You have to say yes to leadership. And that's what tonight's topic is going to be about. I spent my time thinking a lot about leadership because each and every single one of you is destined for great leadership. That's why you're here, to become great leaders, to not only lead yourself, which is the first step of leadership, but then to be able to lead others. I have been blessed to have been mentored by some great leaders and some great mentors. And so it is my duty to pay that forward to you to the best of my ability so that you can do the same for the people that you're called to lead and mentor. Now, there are standard concepts of leadership that apply to all leaders, whether they are a business leader, a political leader, a spiritual leader. These are standard concepts. And then there are very specific things that we have to do as business leaders. And sometimes they're a little bit different than, say, a leader of a church or a leader of a political operation. But they're not that different. But I'm going to talk a little bit about leadership, and I'm going to share with you that it's my belief that the world needs a lot more leaders. Right now, our political environment is probably displaying the worst leadership in the history of this great country. I suspect that there is a tremendous lack of integrity and honesty among the leadership that we have in our country. And I think that the answer and the solution to most of the country's problems is leadership. And so in order for us to be a part of the solution, we have to increase our leadership skills and our leadership competency in order for us to model leadership with our families and our communities and our companies. And then who knows, God willing, one day AlterCall may have the privilege to say that we got to participate in developing leaders that went on to change the world. And we hope that you are one of those people that we can proudly look at and say, wow, we were a part of that person's leadership development, and look at all the good that they've created in business, in their communities, and so forth. I've been reading some books on leadership, and I stumbled upon a person that I had heard about a lot growing up. I'd seen some of his commercials. I didn't know much about him as a leader. I lived in Detroit for a while, so he was a bit of a legend there. And I had a business there, and he was older when I was learning about leadership and when I was learning to be an executive. But being that he was from Detroit and he had done a turnaround of General Motors in the 80s, I thought during the holiday that I would go look at some of the old school leaders and compare them to some of the new school leaders and see if I could glean any lost characteristics of leadership that maybe perhaps we don't have in today's society that are exemplified. And one of the leaders that I looked into over the holiday was an individual by the name of Lee Iacocca. Now, He's not the same type of leader that I am, by any means. No one is the equivalent of each other. He came from an older school generation. He believed in strong leadership. He might have been a straight talker, a little bit ruthless, and there's some other attributes that he exemplified that I choose not to, which maybe he tore people down a little much or did some of those things. But we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater on a person. Just because somebody came from a different generation and maybe they were a little different than the way we'd like to be, that doesn't mean that we can't learn from them and inspect them and try to understand them. And as I dove into him as an individual, I began to admire him a little bit more than I had before. And I began to really look at some of the core attributes that he taught as a leader. And I'm going to share them with you here today because he'd come up with a framework that I think is quite relevant today. It's easy to remember, and it starts with the number 9. He created what's called the 9 C's of leadership. And I'm going to do my best to share with you what the 9 C's are, and also my perspective on these. They may be somewhat different than his. Although I did read his book, I'm taking some creative liberty to add some of my own definitions around these words. Number 1 C is curiosity. When I think of curiosity, I often remind myself when I'm meeting people, and perhaps they feel separate than I am. Perhaps they're triggered, or they're going through a tough time, or maybe they're not being their best. I often think to myself, what's the best response to that? And my conclusion is to be curious. What's going on with that person? What are they enduring? What makes them tick? How do they come to these conclusions? And to have a spirit of curiosity means that you're always engaging with people because you're curious about them, as opposed to judging them, which basically closes off curiosity, because if I'm judging you, I've made a conclusion about you. I've now created separation, but with curiosity, I create connection. Like, what's going on with you that you're not in a good mood today? And oftentimes, when you have a larger team, we have a medium-sized team at AlterCall, about 30 or so people that are on the inside of the walls of the movement. When you have a team and there's conflict, or there's judgment or separation, the antidote is curiosity. I wonder what's going on in their life, or I wonder what kind of trauma they had to go through to come up with that response, or I wonder where else this is affecting them in their life, or I wonder how I could be more empathetic in my relationships with them. And being curious about how you can be a better leader, how you can be a more effective communicator, as well as about your team, your vendors, and the people that you're here to work with. And so creativity is number C. Creativity is required. The reason why you have problems and you can't solve them is because of a lack of creativity. Now, what are some of the things that block creativity? You know what blocks my creativity the most? Worry. You ever try to be really creative when you're worried all the time? Right? Worry really blocks creativity. You can't think straight. You can't think clear if you're worried and you're fearful. And of course, the antidote to fear is faith. And so I give you these elements of leadership that I learned from the Iacocca in order to stimulate some thinking in your mind and ask yourself, where do I measure up on this? Like on a 1 to 10, how am I doing in curiosity? On a 1 to 10, how am I doing on creativity? Yeah, creativity is something that we have to have a practice on as well. One of the things that I have learned is I need to schedule my day and my practices for my peak creativity time. Some of us are more creative at night and others are more creative in the morning. I've found it's generally split. There's some people that get really creative come midnight, and there's other people that get really creative at like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. They wake up at that time, right? A great musician once said, it's when the muses come out at night. So you want to optimize your practices and your life around your creativity. Some of the things that I do to optimize around creativity is I make sure that I'm connecting to nature, the moon, the sun, I'm eating healthy, I'm getting my workout in. You want to deal with me in an uncreative mood? Just get me when I haven't eaten and I haven't worked out. Because I'm not creative if I'm hangry and I haven't worked out. But if I've properly worked out, I've done my practices, then I'm going to be far more creative. Number 3, communication. Now, this is one that I have had a struggle with. As a more introverted person, I don't really love communicating. I also don't expect people to communicate with me. If I text you and you don't get back to me, I just assume you have something better to do with your life than to get back to me. I don't get mad at you. It doesn't tick me off because, frankly, I think the best of things. I'm like, hey, you probably are out doing a rad trip to Africa or something, and you don't have time to get back to me. So my way of communicating is, if someone can't get back to me, they must have something better to do. And if they forgot about me, I'll remind them and say, hey, I'm still here waiting for you to get back to me. It doesn't bother me. But now other people get really perturbed about that. Like they need you to respond to them right away, and they get upset if they don't get responses, right? So I've made it my goal this year to improve my communication in 2 particular categories. I'm gonna share them with you because as leaders, it is all about communication. They say communication is the oxygen of an organization. And my objective for communication is to be more efficient in my communication and more results driven in my communication. Saying no with an open heart, that's a form of efficient communication. Someone says, hey, Ryan, I want you to invest in my deal. No, love you anyways, though. Hey, Ryan, I want you to come to, my bachelorette party. Not my thing, but, I'll be praying for you. Hey, I don't get invited to many bachelorette parties. But hey, if I do, not my thing, right? I'm married, can't do that. Saying no with an open heart and also hearing no with an open heart. And I just sent out a communication to our team. Those of you who have joined us on here tonight, thank you for your responses. I kicked off the year. I wrote a communication as to what our priorities are, what our focus is, how we're going to organize and how we're going to operate this year. And then I asked for the team for commitment. Now, oftentimes when times are good, it's easy to communicate. But when you're in crisis, sometimes it's hard to communicate because we're under stress. And I know there were times in my leadership career where I would go into my office and lock the door and not want to talk to anyone because I didn't know how to communicate that we were going through a tough time or we were going through a challenge. And so communication is something that we have to work on as a skill, so that way when times are tough or when someone's going through a tough time, we have that skill in place and we're no longer reacting in our communication, we're being proactive in our communication. We can work on this year. We can become better communicators together. I have an expression that I share with the team. It's my belief that every one of us has a lock around our hearts. And there's a series of words, I call them the words that work, that'll open up that lock. If my son communicates to me in a certain way, it picks the lock. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, sure, I'll buy you whatever you're looking for. Of course, that's a good idea. If my son communicates to me in a spoiled way or this way, that doesn't pick the lock, right? But each of us has a lockbox. And the words that work, when we're effective in clearing our communication, it opens up that lockbox and opens up the heart. I'll share with you one time I was meeting with Dan Gilbert of Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage and a variety, he owns sports teams and a variety of other enterprises. And he told me, Ryan, I need you to communicate more clearly here. And I thought to myself, here's this multi-billionaire, he has 18,000 employees, and the words that came out of my mouth, and it was actually in an email that I'd sent him, were ineffective. And he responded saying, clean up your communication. And when I looked at it, I realized, wow, that wasn't a fully thought out sentence. That wasn't a fully thought out piece of information. And I made a commitment I'd never send an email like that again because I didn't want my mentor, Dan Gilbert, to think I'm some bozo who can't communicate. So communication is important. And if you want to work with the greatest leaders in the world, you have to speak clearly, you have to speak concisely, and you have to be consistent in your communication. Now the next C, character. You'll hear me talk a lot about character. Character is the stuff that leaders are made of. Character is your values, your principles, your discipline, your practices. These are the things that build character. Now, one of the things I'm doing to enhance my character, and I'm not saying this for any other reason other than for you to hold me accountable here, is I love hot baths. This whole ice bath craze that people are in, I think it's the stupidest thing in the world. Like, I love hot baths with warm Epsom salt, candles, a little bit of incense. I like to listen to classical music or some worship music, and I chill out and I write. I love a hot bath. I am a warm bath kind of person, return to the womb kind of person. My body is not made for the freezing cold. I don't love it, I don't like it, I resist it. It is the worst thing in the world. When I get into a swimming pool, I have to dive in head first if it's a little chilly, because I will chicken out if I put my toes in the water and then try to inch my way in. That's not the way I like it. But I've heard that ice baths build character. I've heard that it's good for inflammation and a variety of other things, and if not for anything else, that you sitting there doing something that you would rather not do, that you would, for minutes at a time, is gonna build character and mental discipline. So one of the purchases that I made over the holidays was an ice bath, and it's running. And right after this, I got one done yesterday, and it was a bit of squealing going on, for lack of better words. After this, I haven't done my practice yet today, but I committed I'm gonna do it every day when I'm in LA. I'm gonna go jump in the ice bath after this. So pray for me and know that it'll be about 7 o'clock at night, and I'll be taking an ice bath after this call, because that's what character is about. It's about doing things that you don't want to do, but because you know that they're good for you and they're the right thing to do, you do them anyways. It's also about doing the things that you said that you're going to do, long after the mood that you said them with is gone. In 2024, just do what you say you're gonna do. Long after the New Year's resolution, the new year, new you energy has left the building. There's a lot of people that right now are saying, I'm gonna go to the gym. And within the next 2 weeks, they will give up on that. A lot of people saying, I'm gonna quit this or quit that or quit this, and within 2 weeks, they're gonna give up on that. That's what the statistics say, is that most people give up on their goals by about the 21st of the month of, 21st day of the month of January. Now, there's a lot of work on character, and it is a lifelong journey to build character. Every time you're triggered, there's an opportunity to look at your character. Every time you have a negative thought in your head and you meet your lower self, there's an opportunity to examine your character. When you meet your higher self, it's an opportunity to examine your character. Every time you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, every time you make a commitment to yourself and you break it, every time you make a commitment to someone else and you break it, every time you gravitate toward lower vibrational energies of, say, envy or greed or fear or worry, all of this stuff shows you where your character's at. We are all works in progress. If you sat down with me, I could tell you 100 things, 100 faults that I have found in my character that I'm working toward removing. Part of what I share with you is, one of my principles is learn what I want to teach and teach what I want to learn. It's part of the reason why I do what I do, is because there are things that I'm working on to build a stronger character, and I'll be working on that, God willing, for the next 50 years. Next C, courage. Courage is being willing to hear no in business. Courage is asking for the sale, even when that little voice in your head says, don't ask. Courage is asking for the investment, even when that little voice in your head says, oh, you're not worthy. Courage is showing up when you're tired. Courage is showing compassion and empathy when it's so much easier to go into separation and judgment. Courage is rising to the occasion when you're faced with crisis or uncertainty. Courage is sharing your work on social media, looking stupid and saying, this is my offer, I'm in business for a reason, support me, even though you don't have hair and makeup and camera and all this stuff. Courage is saying, I don't like to do this, but I'm gonna do it because I have a calling on my heart, and you know what? If I gotta be a fool, I'll be a fool. Courage is doing something that's gonna humble you and breaking off new hobbies, going after new skills and saying, I'm willing to be a fool because I believe that by taking this courageous action, that I will be able to make a difference in the world. Courage is standing up for people that are in need. Courage is giving without any desire for reciprocation. Courage is tithing, even when you don't have money in the bank, giving back even though you don't have a lot of money. Oftentimes, we can see when we are being courageous when we look at something that we don't want to look at. Let's say we look at someone and see them as a human being. Perhaps we're going to the store and there's a person begging and we don't want to make eye contact with them because we're in fear that if we do acknowledge them as a human being and do look at them as a human being, maybe it'll bring out a piece of us that we're not ready to experience. Maybe our hearts will break a little bit. Maybe it'll open us up a bit. So what do? We close our hearts and we walk right past them because we don't have the courage to even look or address them as human beings. Courage is what leadership is made of. It requires courage, but not just courage that we think about, the leader charging the hill. It's courage to show up with empathy and compassion when it's so much easier to show up with judgment and show up with separation. The next C, conviction. It's something that you get a few different ways. One way is repetition. You just do something so many times that you are 100% good at it. You have conviction. And repetition is practice, right? You gotta practice, and then you'll have conviction. A good example of this is a person who's a great free throw shooter, right? They have the conviction on that free throw line, not because of a belief system, but because they have got the reps in, and those reps have created the belief system. But conviction also comes by way of faith and belief. Conviction can also come from the failures that you've had because you've experienced it. You failed, you've made mistakes. I have made so many mistakes that oftentimes I look at the things I'm doing and I say, I have total conviction that this is going to work. I have total conviction that this is going to grow me or help me, because why? What's the worst thing that can happen? And so I might as well step into total conviction as opposed to being lukewarm, because lukewarm gets you nowhere. Now, out of curiosity, when you're buying from someone and they're selling you a product, let's say they were selling you a car like the Iacocca, would you want the manufacturer of the car to have conviction around its safety? Or what if they said, I'm not so sure it's that safe. Might work, it might not work. Might kill you, might not kill you. Or would you rather have them have conviction? You'd want them to have conviction. So much conviction that they would guarantee the car, give you a warranty. They so believe in their product, they're so convicted that it's the right thing, that they'll give you a price guarantee, that they'll give you a warranty, a safety guarantee. That's the kind of conviction we want as consumers, right? We don't want to buy products from people that don't have conviction. So how do you get that conviction? You got to get the reps in. You got to keep iterating and innovating on your product. You got to build references. The references are the testimonies that your business has, the people that are using your product. You have to fill yourself up and your team up with those references so that you have conviction. Like I know, we have a program here called our private client coaching program. I only work with a few private clients. They generally have businesses that are 10 million plus a year. And I only have the availability to work with a couple at a time because I have a lot of people on the team that I support. And I've helped some of our private clients sell their companies. I helped one do a turnaround. He had to lay off a bunch of people, reorganize his business, recalibrate it. Then I helped him turn it around. Then I helped him sell it to Magic Johnson in a $135 million transaction when it looked like when I showed up they were going to go out of business. I could go on and on and on and give you testimonies. This client is now an investor of ours. Now, if somebody said, Ryan, do you think you can get me results? If they have a $10 million plus business, I can't necessarily drive results at the level that I charge in a smaller business because you got to have a bigger playground, so to speak, in order to implement some of the strategies. Now, if someone said to me, are you sure you can get me results? And I had evaluated their business, and I talked to them, and I knew that I had some skills that they needed, and I had some wisdom that they could utilize, and I had some tactics and strategies. Do you think I would have conviction in that sale? To me, it's yes, I can get you results. There is no doubt in my mind whatsoever that I can get you results. And in fact, I would be miserable if I didn't get you results. Why? Because that's what I take pride in. That's who I am as an individual. That's what I live for. If you're not growing, I'm not growing. My entire belief system is built around this. And so when I tell that to a client, particularly a private client, they tend to either join me or they don't, but it's a pretty high degree of probability that those people that are seeking conviction are going to join me. Now, imagine if I said, I don't know if I'll get you results or not. I want you to invest $250,000 and we'll check it out. We'll see. Not sure I can make it to the appointments. We'll see if I make it. We'll see if I can get you results. Who knows? We'll just leave it up to, chance. What do you think they would do? You think they'd buy from me? Not a chance. Conviction is something that you have to be able to bring. One of the techniques I learned from Tony Robbins, a friend of mine, is this idea of a peak state. If you're feeling down or you're tired, you have to shift yourself into a peak state. You have to show up to your calls with conviction. You have to, 100%, you have to embody and exemplify conviction. That's what people buy. That's what new team members want. That's what the people that you're called to lead need, is they need a leader with conviction. That's what your customers are looking for. That's what your family is looking for. They're looking for conviction. The next C is charisma. In my opinion, your charisma comes from how grounded you are in who you are. When you know who you are and you know what you are, people will sense that. And when you're grounded, now there are charismatic leaders that are all over the place, and sometimes there's such a mess, we love them. We're like, wow, look at that hot mess. That's a charismatic leader, right? So it doesn't have to be that way, but as a spiritual person, the people that I gravitate to are the people that can sit in the pocket, the people that are grounded, that are wise, and they have a spark in their eyes. And that spark, that comes by way of a lot of work. If you see people, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but I've been close to some great spiritual leaders, and there's a spark in their eyes. There's something going on. They're activated. They're on, like they're just on. The best way I can equate it to is when I go into a boxing session with my boxing coach, he's like, turn it on, go, quick, move. He's trying to get me activated. And when he gets me to be activated, I'm just focused, I'm dialed in that zone. That is when I'm being as charismatic as I possibly can be. And when you meet a leader that's charismatic, they're activated. They're dialed in on you. They're not thinking about noise. They're not outside of the conversation with you. They're not calculating what they're going to say next. They're active, they're engaged, and they're engaged in such a way and grounded in such a way, and they know themselves in such a way that you're just like, wow, this person is activated, and there's something about them that is special. That's charisma. That's spiritual charisma. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. This one's really tough because most people, they don't want to look at this one. Number 8 is competence, and competence requires study. We were told that we only had to go to school to senior year in high school or senior year in college or whatever you were told in your upbringing and your tradition. But I'm here to tell you that you have to go to school every single day as a leader. In fact, in the Jewish tradition, which my family's a part of, it is said that all free time should be dedicated to study. If it's not making you a livelihood or giving you fulfillment with your family, it should be dedicated to study. Now, I'm not perfect at this. That's the highest level people in that tradition. They call them the tzaddiks. All of their free time is dedicated to study. They don't watch TV. They don't go on social media. they are dedicated to study. And I'm looking to enhance my dedication to study this year because I want to build my competence. Now, what should we be studying as entrepreneurs? The bad news is the profession that you have chosen as an entrepreneur and a leader has a lot of skill requirements. It requires a lot of skills. The good news is you don't have to be a master at all of the skills. You just have to be generally knowledgeable in all of them, and you have to be able to identify those people who are masters and the ones that you are not a master in. I'm not a master at finance, but I have enough of a general knowledge of the subject that I know a great financial officer when I meet one. I'm not a master at a lot of things. I'm not a master at AI, but I've got enough general knowledge, having worked in IT and software and technology, that I know a good engineer when I meet one, and I can ask probing questions to be able to surround myself with the people that I need to surround myself with to achieve the objectives of this company. So competence in hiring, competence in assessing your team, competence in all of the skills and the characteristics that are necessary here that we've mentioned. I like to look at two types of study. I study in character and I study in competence. So I bought the Lee Iacocca book over the holiday. That would be studying character, leadership. But I also bought a book on storytelling and different dynamics of storytelling because I want to become a better storyteller. That's part of a skill that I as a communicator would like to learn and get better at. And so I bought it's like a 50 card set that has different storytelling tactics and techniques. And every day I pull a card and I learn a different storytelling technique. That's one of the objectives that I have. And I only share this with you to give you some insight into the way I look at these things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it makes sense for you. But I like to look at character and competency, and I like to study both in character and competency every day. And the last one, we'll just assume everyone has this one. But let's assume that I'm sharing this with you because it's a virtue that we need to look for in our teams. Because you all have this. I would never dare say that you guys don't have this. If you say it, that's one thing, but I would never dare say that you don't have this. Common sense. Every one of you, of course, has a tremendous amount of common sense. And common sense is simplifying things, being practical. Like, for example, there are two things that really matter in a business. One is priorities. That's one of the things that matters. And the other is people, right? That's common sense. Now, I have met leaders that have so confused business that they forget that it's the people and the priorities that matter the most. And so I share that last one because we can all use a reminder that it's common sense. It's real easy to get caught up in abstract concepts. We got to fall back on common sense and practical leadership. And we have to teach common sense and recruit for common sense. Some people will tell you common sense cannot be learned. I believe in people. I believe you can teach common sense. If a person has zero common sense, they might not be for you. That might be for someone else to teach them the concepts around common sense. We're not all called to teach everyone. Someone else might be called to teach them common sense. Someone else might be called to teach them competence. I'm not called to teach everyone, right? There's certain people that I'm called to teach and that I'm capable of teaching. And other people I'm incapable of teaching even if I'm called to teach them. And I have to know the difference because I may not be a master at this or nor may I have developed the patience or the curriculum or the understanding to teach this person what they need. And so I have to make sure that I call in people that I'm capable of teaching. And common sense is a requirement in order for you to be able to build a company. I'm sharing with you a couple more items. Those are the 9 C's. As I mentioned earlier, business is simple. It's about priorities and people. Make sure you write up a list of your priorities. What are your priorities in 2024? And make sure we communicate those priorities to our team members. The other thing that we need to do is we need to, especially today and tomorrow and the next day, We need to start the year with a sense of urgency. You have a tremendous opportunity. You have the wind at your back. The wind is going to run out. The more momentum you get right now, the faster your company is going to move throughout the year. If you're slow today and you don't get that wind at your back, you're going to have a slow year. But if you're urgent today and you're taking action today and you're working harder than you've ever worked for the first few months of the year, you will have the wind at your back for the rest of the year. So treat these days right now as you kick off your year as the most urgent days that you have. This has been my strategy year over year over year, and it has always resulted in great years. I'm proud to say the team at AlterCall delivered 90% growth last year. 90%, and that's not on a small base. This year, our goal is 333% growth. 333% growth, not on a small base. You have no idea how hard our team is going to have to work to be able to yield 333% growth on top of the significant base that we created this year. But we're not going to do it if we're not urgent about it. We have to build on momentum, on momentum, on momentum, on momentum, and we have to get it right strategically. We have to get it right team-wise. We have to get it right in the way we're operating and organizing. And it's going to take us 180 days of hard work until we're even within a shot of hitting that objective and knowing that we're going to hit that objective. And then we're going to have to work hard too for the remaining 180 days of the year, but we won't even know until June as to whether or not we have a chance at hitting it. And so we got to put our heads down and we got to work and we got to work and we got to work harder and harder than we ever have to make sure that we have a shot at our objectives this year. Now, why is it so important to grow by 333% other than it's a spiritual number and it adds up to 9, which is my lucky number? Why? It's because we can, because we have the potential to do it. And if you have the potential, but you're not getting the results, the gap between your potential and your results is where we need to do the work. Now, I'm not talking about the unlimited God-given potential that we all have, where I have unlimited potential. I'm not talking about that because we want to be practical. Yes, we all have unlimited potential for total transformation into every cell in our body can transform in a moment's notice. We have that potential and we have to believe in that potential. But we have to look at the reality of what are our plans, what are our objectives, what is our team capable of doing based on the evidence that we have of past results, and then we have to play our hearts out to grow. And the last item that I'm going to share with you, and I learned this from Steve Jobs, and this is one of the most important things that we can do in 2024 as leaders in business, and that is simplify, simplify, simplify. Right now, you should not be thinking about how much more can I add. You should be thinking about what can I delete, what can I remove, so I can focus on the things that work. Last year, you got some evidence of some things that worked. You got some results. This year, you should be looking at that evidence and those results and saying, I'm doubling down on the bets that work, the things that work. Oftentimes, we want to avoid that and we add new stuff and we keep thinking about the external things. One of the things that I shared with the AlterCall team is we have all that we need. We don't need anything more. That's a belief that I have. I've always believed that even when I had nothing, I have all that I need to get the job done. I'm not thinking externally, I need more, I need this, I need that, I need a call center, I need a funnel. I have all that I need right now. Yes, there are going to be some things that we're gonna do, some initiatives, some experiments, but to start the year, I got all that I need. I can post a video, I can send an email, I can send a text, I can get on the phone with people, and I can build relationships. We have all that we need. Oftentimes what we do is like, I need this, I need that, I need a documentary video about my company's movement, how that's those are things that I want to have, but I don't need to have them in order to start momentum. Right now, momentum came to a halt over the holidays, and we gotta restart it. And to restart that momentum, you have to get liftoff. You have to power your business like a rocket ship, and then you gotta get it into orbit. If you do this right now, and you compound your momentum every single day, nonstop, take off Sundays, and you do that for the next 90 days, you will be in orbit come March. And then, you're gonna have to steer that ship some more, and then hopefully by July, you're taking the trip of your lifetime, and you're going on the greatest vacation you've ever dreamed of because you did it. break the year up into the first 6 months and the second 6 months, and play like you only have 6 months this year. Don't play like you got 12 months. Because at summertime, we go through another shutdown in momentum. This is the way we work as human beings. We have this seasonal thing. You can't resist it. You got to go with the flow. Trust me when I tell you this. I've tried to go against the flow. It doesn't work. Go with the seasonal flow. You came off of your fall momentum. We went into winter. Now we have new year. Start your momentum, compound your momentum, build your momentum, and then by the time you're done with June and the second quarter is over, take a great holiday break with your family, go reset, and then get back to work for the second half of the year. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, help boost this video. I want to get the word out about my work, and I could use your help. Thank you so much, and God bless. If you want to learn more about how I help entrepreneurs scale their businesses and the work that I do with regard to culture, I'm offering an hour of my time to 8-figure entrepreneurs scaling to 9 figures, or if you're a 9-figure entrepreneur scaling to 10, I'd be happy to talk to you for an hour where we can dive into tactics and strategies on culture or anything else that you're up against as an entrepreneur scaling. It's on me because I want to meet people doing big things in the world, and I want to share with you what I'm up to as well. Go ahead and click on Learn More, book your time, and I look forward to meeting you.